Tripurantako bhavatu va brahma surendrota va Bhanurva shashalakshanota bhagavan buddhota siddhota va Ragadvesha visharti moharahita sattvanukampodyato Yasarve sahasamskrito gunaganais tasmai namah sarvada. The Supreme Reality and its messengers are known by various names and various traditions. But as for me, I offer my worship always to the one going by any name and belonging to any tradition, who is free from attachment and hatred, free from worldliness and delusion, who is filled with compassion towards all living beings, and who is possessed of all noble virtues. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. Om peace, peace, peace. Let me begin by offering my salutations to revered Swami Gautamanandaji Maharaj, revered Swami Suhitanandaji Maharaj, senior Swamis of our order, and brother monks and nuns and our dear friends and devotees. I'm to speak this morning about the Ramakrishna Mission's contribution to world peace and harmony. And having been working in America for many years, I'm to speak about the work from the American perspective. But I want to begin by saying that the American work really is Swami Vivekananda's work. What we do in America is really try to carry forward the ideas that the great Swami planted in America. Ideas which were not just ideas, they were seeds, living seeds, not concepts. Not just passive ideas, but like sparks of fire, seeds which grow into huge trees, or better, sparks of fire, which for some time seemed to be inactive, but then they began to kindle material around them and grow bigger and bigger until I think one day the whole country will be a conflagration of Swamiji's ideas. And for those who have eyes to see, you can see it even now. You can see the beginnings of it, and that's what I want to touch on. I want to mention 5 ideas that Swami Vivekananda presented to America, not an exhaustive list. There are so many ideas he gave, but 5 central ideas, and how we begin to see them at work in America now. Ideas which in his time were radically new. And yet now you see these ideas beginning to spring up in the culture at large, not just in our Vedanta societies, not just in our respective fields of Vedanta work, but you see it grow, these ideas growing in the culture at large, even far from the areas that we have been consciously tending for the past 100 years. Swamiji himself said once that I will compare truth to a corrosive substance of infinite power. It burns its way in wherever it falls. In soft substance at once, hard granite slowly, but burn its way it must. So Swamiji compared his own ideas to a corrosive substance. That is, truth he compared to a corrosive substance, and his own ideas, being an expression of the truth, are that corrosive substance, which burn their way through, in spite of whatever obstacle is presented. And that we find from the very word for truth in Sanskrit, the word satyam, the word meaning truth. What is satyam? Truth. It's that which has sat, that which is. That which is untruth is that which is not, that which only appears to be. But that which is truth. That's satyam. And as the Mundaka Upanishad says, satyameva jayate, the motto of modern India. Satyameva jayate nanritam. Truth alone triumphs, not untruth. And so you see that these seeds of truth that Swami Vivekananda spread around the country as he traveled from north to south, east to west, meeting people, well-to-do people, poor people, common people, leaders of society, and the underdogs of society at all levels of society. His very being was spreading these ideas, and of course in his talks as well. One of those ideas that we see, and the first one that comes to many people's minds, is the harmony of religions. And that's something that we're all so familiar with, something that is so much a part even of ordinary Hinduism. that perhaps it would seem that we don't need to even mention it. It's something that we assume now. Swamiji's teaching of the harmony of religions, in tune with Sri Ramakrishna's own realizations. But no, that is still a vital teaching, a vitally important idea that the Swami Vivekananda spread in America. Something in his time which was radically new, something which people had not heard before. One can argue, and some people have, that, well, how can you say that all religions are true? You say that all religions are true, so my religion also is true, and then you say, yes, of course your religion also is true. And then I say, well, my religion teaches that my religion alone is true. And if my religion is true, then that also is true, and so you have a contradiction. But no, when Swami Vivekananda, Sri Ramakrishna said that all religions are true, what they meant was not that they believed that every teaching of every religion is true as it's stated, but that by following any religion sincerely, one comes to the same God, one comes to the same truth, one comes to the same reality. And that idea has spread in America, not as the dominant idea yet, but you find it even among common people. Many years ago, I met a woman that I had grown up across the street from. She was a neighbor where I grew up. And after many years, after I was a Swami, I met her by chance. And she recognized me and asked me what I was doing nowadays. And I thought, well, how do I tell this lady, Mrs. Koistra, that I'm a Hindu monk, I'm a Swami? Because she was from a fundamentalist Christian background. I had grown up, or she was from a very narrow religious background, not accepting other religions and so forth. So I thought, well, I'll just tell her that I'm a Hindu monk and see what happens, because that's the truth. So I said, well, I'm a Hindu monk. And she said, oh, that's wonderful. I'm so glad to hear that. You know, I believe that we all worship the same God. And I was so surprised to hear that. There was nothing in her background that would have indicated that she would speak that way. And so in that way you find, even among common people, this idea is beginning to spread. So the harmony of religions. But Swamiji also said an associated idea, which is at the preface to his translation of the Yoga Sutras. He says, his famous words, each soul is potentially divine. The goal is to manifest this divinity within by controlling nature, external and internal. Do this either by work or worship or psychic control or philosophy, by one or more of all of these, and be free. This is the whole of religion, he says. Doctrines or dogmas, rituals or books, temples or forms are but secondary details. Now that's something that perhaps all of us here have heard, we've read. One of the very common quotations from Swami Vivekananda. And yet, it's still vitally important. An extraordinary statement that the Swami says. Why? Why extraordinary? Because it clarifies so much. It clarifies so much. When, before the time of Copernicus, in the West, people thought that the Earth was the center of the universe, and the stars and the sun and the moon moved around the Earth. The planets, including, moved around the Earth. And so to calculate the movement of the stars and the planets was extremely difficult. Then Copernicus said, no, the Earth is not the center of the universe. The Earth and the planets move around the sun. And so suddenly the movement of the planets and the Earth became extraordinarily simple, easy to calculate. And so in the same way, this teaching of Swamiji, that each soul is potentially divine, and this is the whole of religion, manifesting that divinity, is extraordinary in its ability to clarify. We need not fight anymore over secondary details. I ring the bell in puja with my right hand, you ring the bell with your left hand. Well, we need not fight about it. I have a reason for doing it with my right hand, you have a reason for doing it with your left hand. I read the Holy Quran and love the Holy Quran. You read the Bhagavad Gita. Well, we need not fight about it. We need not fight about it. One is my sacred book, the other is your sacred book. I worship images. You say that I don't believe in the worship of images. That's okay. That's all right. You do it your way, I'll do it my way. Because the purpose of religion is to manifest this inner divinity, and there are many ways to do it. And the details are secondary. And yet, the details have their importance as well. When Swamiji says, this is the whole of religion, this manifesting our inner divinity. Doctrines or dogmas or rituals or books or temples or forms are but secondary details. It seems to say that they're unimportant. Well, no, they have their place too, if we recognize them as secondary. I have my holy book, you have your holy book. Both are good. We need not fight over them, because through both of them we're trying to get to the end of religion, which is the manifestation of the inner divinity. And so putting the secondary details in their place has an extraordinarily clarifying effect. Yesterday you heard my friend Rabbi Rami Shapiro mention that the different religions are like different languages. I don't speak Swahili, except the one word jambo. It's the one word of Swahili that I know. So that doesn't qualify me as a speaker of Swahili by any means. And so if I hear people speaking Swahili, I don't understand it. But that doesn't mean that Swahili has no meaning. It means that it has deep meaning for those who understand it. So each religion is like a language with its own syntax, its own grammar, its own vocabulary. And within the realm of that language, it makes perfect sense. But again, language is meant to express an idea, and that expression can come through different languages. And so through the different religions, the same intent can come through the different religions. So Swamiji's extraordinary words, again, which we read so many times that we forget the power of them, puts religion in its proper perspective. What is the essence and what is secondary? Important, beautiful, but secondary. That's what the Swami has done. And you see in America now that in recent studies in America and recent surveys, they found that the fastest growing religious segment of America are those who say spiritual but not religious. What is your religion? What is your religious belief? Including no belief. The fastest growing segment are those who say, I'm spiritual but not religious. And that's because of, not because of what Swamiji said, but it's in tune with what the Swami said. What is the essence of religion, and what are the secondary details? Again, not that the details are unimportant, but they're secondary. Another great teaching, a third great teaching, there's the harmony of religions. There's this statement from the Raja Yoga that I read. Another great statement of the Swami that, again, Rabbi Rami mentioned yesterday, that is that humanity travels not from error to truth, but from truth to truth. Humanity travels not from error to truth, but from truth to truth. What an extraordinary statement. Again, so simple. If you read Swamiji, one of the great things is that in these short little epigrammatic statements, Swamiji gives a world of meaning, which it'll take centuries for us to even begin to unravel, to work out. But what are the implications of this? That humanity travels not from error to truth, but from truth to truth. And what are the implications for world peace and harmony? It means that all of us are looking at the same reality. We're all looking at the same reality. The intelligent, the not so intelligent, the educated, the uneducated, the Christian, the Jew, the Muslim, the Hindu, the Buddhist, the atheist, we're all looking at the same reality. And all of our ideas are readings of that same reality from different levels, from different perspectives. Therefore, I don't need to hate anyone. Everyone is looking at the same reality from their own perspective. And it also means that I can learn from everybody what Sri Ramakrishna himself did, what Swami Vivekananda did. I can learn from everybody. I may not be a Marxist, and yet Marx had a very bright mind and looked at the world and came up with these conclusions. I can learn a great deal from Marx, though I'm not a Marxist. Freud, I'm not a Freudian, but I can look at the thought of Freud, because again, with a bright mind, he looked at the human condition and came up with these conclusions. So I can learn from him as well. I can learn from anyone, because everyone is looking at the same reality, because we travel not from error to truth, but from truth to truth. Everyone is looking at the same reality. We're looking out here. We're seeing the same reality in our different ways. I see it from the front, you see it looking that way, and yet we're seeing the same reality. Swamiji even said that I believe that even the babbling of a baby is an effort to express the highest truth. What a wonderful statement, even the babbling of a baby. A fourth idea, Swamiji said that each country has a life of its own. It has a birth, it has a growth and development. It occasionally experiences sickness. It can experience decay. It can experience even destruction, death. It has a trajectory like a human life. And at the heart of every country, every culture, every civilization is an idea. He said at the heart of Indian civilization was the idea of God. And because India had remained true to that, India remained alive after thousands of years, whereas other countries have come and gone over the course of history. And so Swamiji said that every country embodies an idea, and as long as it holds faithfully to that idea, the country will be healthy. And so from that standpoint, we can appreciate not just all religions, but all cultures of the world. Every culture is a manifestation of the divinity of human beings, manifesting one of the great ideas in the symphony of ideas of human life. I myself come from, well, no, let me first say that Swami Vivekananda went so far as to say that even if a country could be proven to be completely corrupt, that even then the country should be left alone, as long as it doesn't hurt others. It should be left alone to develop according to its own law of growth. Because, he says, even through foolishness one can come to wisdom, and so the country should be left alone. I come from a great country, a country with a great history, great ideals, but I have to say the country that I come from has for some time been bent on trying to force other countries to take on its ideals, to take on its culture, to take on its values. And that's a mistake. Hopefully with the spread of Swami Vivekananda's ideas, that imperialism of all sorts, political imperialism, economic imperialism, commercial, cultural imperialism, imperialism of all forms will disappear from the world. So again, this has great meaning for the peace and harmony of world civilization. Swamiji also said, in famous words, and this is the last of the ideas I want to present to you today, "May I be born again and again and suffer thousands of miseries, so that I may worship the only God that exists, the only God I believe in, the sum total of all souls, and above all, my God the wicked, my God the miserable, my God the poor, of all races, of all species, is the special object of my worship." What extraordinary words. My God the wicked. Who has dared to say, my God the wicked? Who has dared to say that? Who has dared to say, like Swamiji, strength is what is needed. Go down into hell if you need to, but come back with strength. Who has dared to say such things but Swami Vivekananda? What world religious teacher has ever spoken in these terms? My God the wicked. What tremendous transforming power these words have. If we could look on other beings, all beings, as manifestations of divinity, if we could look on the poor as divine, if we could look on even the wicked as divine, the saint and the sinner both as divine, how different would be our treatment of human beings, how much that would promote peace and harmony in the world. And so these ideas are beginning to spread in America. As I said, you begin to see them springing up here and there. This idea of the divinity of all beings, that's not a dominant idea in America, certainly, but you begin to see it flowering here and there. You see it among Christians, you see it among Jews, you see it among others. Among Christians, there are many thinkers, prominent Christian thinkers, who are trying to come up with a new way of looking at human nature, not as born in sin, not as conceived in sin, not as sinful by nature, but manifestations of the image of God in which they are created. And so you find these ideas which were so radical when Swamiji presented them. You find that the beginnings of them, the beginnings of this conflagration which one day I'm sure will sweep across the world, you begin to see that coming now. And so the work of the Swami Vivekananda is ongoing. The work in America, the work in other countries, but the real work is done by Swamiji himself. The real work is done by Sri Ramakrishna and the Holy Mother. I know, in conclusion, I know a devotee. I have a case of my own acquaintance, a devotee who came from a Protestant Christian background, was attracted to Ramakrishna and Vedanta, but who didn't like the idea of the Divine Mother, and so she wasn't attracted to Holy Mother. And yet sitting in the shrine of one of our centers, she saw the picture of Holy Mother come to life and look at her and smile, and then all of her resistance was washed away. Another man that I know, he himself told me his own life story. He's long passed away now. He was a man who had lived a very wretched life. He would get drunk and have brawls in bar rooms and so forth, and his wife was overwrought trying to figure out how to reform him. One day, after years of this degenerate life, fighting and getting drunk every night and quarreling with his wife, he went to see his sister. And while his sister was getting ready to come out to welcome him, he was sitting in the living room, and suddenly he felt waves of love pouring over him as he sat there. He himself told me this story years ago. Waves of love pouring over him. He didn't know where it was coming from. He had never felt such love, all-accepting love. And so he began to look around the room, and then he looked up and saw a picture on the wall and saw the waves of love coming and engulfing him. When his sister came out, he was bathed in tears and said, "Who is this picture?" And she said, "That's the picture of Sri Ramakrishna. If you want to know more, when you go back to your home, there's a center nearby. You can go and see it." And so the real work is being done by Sri Ramakrishna, by the Holy Mother, and by Swami Vivekananda. And our work, as I see it, is to surrender ourselves to them and to do in the best way that we see, that we can understand, to carry on the work that they are carrying on themselves.